today with a really fun and exciting and maybe a little bit of an unusual project for you. And that project's called a Psycho-geographical Map. Now that's a lot of words, but the idea is fairly simple, and I think that you're going to have a lot of fun with it. So let's talk about what the words mean. You know what a map is, right? A map directs you and tells you where to go. Well, the next word would be psych. That means mind. So we're thinking about what's going on in our mind. And geography is the study of the earth, its atmosphere, and also the resources that are there. So if you've got a river there or a mountain, that would influence how people can live in that space. So if we put the words together, psycho, mind, geography, we're studying the earth and the space, map, which is a direction sheet. So we are making a direction sheet for our personal mind geography. In 1955, Guy Debord, who was a filmmaker, made a psychogeographic guide of Paris, in which he cut up a map of Paris, France, into different neighborhoods where people actually lived and gathered. And then he drew red arrows to show where movement was the most frequent between these neighborhoods. And part of what he was showing was that the neighborhoods were actually much more divided than the big city map made them feel. So he ended up making this really great point, even though he was also doing it as sort of an art project, which is really, really neat. Another person who worked with the idea of mental maps was Kevin A. Lynch. He was an American urban planner and an author, and he was known for examining cities and for interviewing people and finding out how they actually lived and moved inside of a city. And so this was a map of a person's point of view and the world as they interacted with it. Even though on the surface it looks like an architect's actual plan, it's actually revealing a lot more about the people who live in a city and how they live their lives in that city. We're going to basically draw a really big picture of what our walking path is like, or smells, or textures, or sights that we see throughout our day. You can glue things on. You can draw things. You could do this with just a pencil. You can also do it with a lot more complicated materials if you'd like to. So that part is really up to you. And here's a few examples of maps that have been made by people who worked with me before when I taught this project. I like this example because this person really demonstrated that the smiley faces and the sad faces, pulling in how his mind actually felt about the activities as he went through them throughout the day. I love this example because this one has writing all through it, which helps to tell the story of how the person traveled throughout their day. And it narrates it so that it's a memory and a story for someone who didn't live it. This one appears simple, but this person was very creative to color code the different paths and directions that she took throughout her day. And then here's bits of my example of my map as well. Okay, this is my beginning of my day. So this is my bed, as if I was looking down at it. You can change angles, it doesn't matter. My nightstand and my lamp. And I got out of bed and I walked around the bed and I looked out the window. And you don't have to put extra details in because there's another window here, but I didn't draw it because it didn't have to do with my story as much. Okay, so I looked in the window, I went into my bathroom, I used the bathroom, I got a shower, I came back out and got dressed in my closet area, and then I came back out this way, and now I'm about to go down the steps. And I came and I turned, And this gets complicated, right? Because I came back and the room that I'm in is then under my bedroom because it's my kitchen. You could also draw, you know, differently to show that there are 2 stories. I really only need this stove. Because I have a tea kettle. There's my cup of tea. And then back I go because I was working from home today. Back I go this way. Wall, wall. My desk is right here. My computer. And my chair. So I worked for a while and I would keep going like this. At a certain point I did walk outside and I took my son's picture on our stoop. So I'm going to skip ahead of my day just for the sake of this demonstration. And on our stoop there's 2 columns that would go all the way up. And there's 2 leafy, sort of piney, really neat trees there. And if I were using color next, I could color them. But I had my son, and I have a flower pot here so I could draw flowers. I had my son sit here and I took his picture. And if I wanted to, I could glue the actual, like I could print it and glue it on here because it was a significant moment of the day. And then from there we went back inside. So we would go back through. Look how. So if you left the house, you would end up using your space a little differently. So I'm gonna leave the house later and go to a baseball field. So if I walk out my front door and I get in my car, then this space becomes my trip to the baseball field and it becomes the drawing of the baseball field. So you can incorporate other elements into your map that are beyond the scope of your home. And you can decide how you'll lay that out. That's totally up to you. Okay, so here I have this 18 by 24 piece of paper and we're gonna fold it into a map. We're gonna do that by first folding it into thirds. Great. The next thing I'm going to do is fold it in half. Then open it back up. And now my goal is to do thirds here. So first third. Second. Then using that middle fold that we did, flipping again. Back to thirds, flip, and final fold. This is considered the cover with the way that we folded it. So I'm just going to design this.